And look at 48-14. Welcome to the Washington Commanders post game report. 48-14. Ah,
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.
what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that's Let's Talk Football, and one half of that terrific tag team that is Washington Football Weekly with my guy Will Kramer, South Carolina's finest. And listen, I'm here, Washington post game report. Shout out to all you that joined me on the halftime report. It didn't look good then, and it didn't end good now. 48-18. We lost by 30 points. Obviously, Coach Quinn is not going to be too thrilled about this, and I'm sure he'll let the team know. And look, there's many ways that we can look at this, but at the end of the day, first preseason game, 30 of our players were not playing, meaning all of our starters, all of our main guys, okay? And this is the first time we're getting a look at them. This is all teaching tape. This is all teaching tape. But look, it's your boy Sean Spencer. I'm back here to talk to you about the game, about how it looked, to bring out any positives if I can, and see where we go from here. Yeah, again, I'm gonna keep reiterating it's just a preseason game, yes, but still, you still want to see if there's any improvement that can be made. And maybe we should have seen the writing on the wall before the game, because before the game they honored the GOAT. A lot of people call him the GOAT, and Nick will hate this, but I call him Mr. Trophy Thrower.
Oh man! Oh wow!
Yeah. Look, far be it for me to give a statue to anybody that throws a trophy from one boat to the other, but it is what it is. Shout out to Tom Brady, the GOAT. They built a trophy for him in New England, unveiled it today before the game. So needless to say, the Patriots were definitely jacked up. Their fans were excited. Shout out to him, well deserved. It's the statue sits on a 6-point platform for each one of his Super Bowl victories or whatnot. So, hey, shout out to him. It was well deserved. And look, they played like one of those teams. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, Drake May had an early start, and he was able to get them in the end zone when he scrambled for a touchdown. But really, his numbers, he was only in there for, I believe, the first drive. And then they brought in, I think, Josh Dobbs, and then Woolridge, I believe, ended the game. He was quarterback out of Louisiana. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, he was the Sun Belt Player of the Year. It escapes me where Louisiana plays in, but yeah. So they came to play. I'm not gonna lie. I want to shout out Chisholm, their running back, who gave you that Rex Burkhead feel. You know what I mean? And one of their wide receivers gave you that. I actually have it written down. No, Chisholm too. He gave you that Amendola, Hogan, Wes Welker feel. The Chris Hogan, like those wide receivers, those running backs that get in the backfield, get out the backfield, get into space, and really make things happen. What is going on, Nathan Snell? Hey, you watched it. You saw what happened. It was a rough game. And I mean, look, even at the half, we were struggling. Even at the half, we were sitting here trying to figure it out, being down 27-3. But you think, okay, you're going into halftime. Coach is going to get on these guys. A lot of these guys are trying to figure out what's happening, and trying to get acclimated to that speed of the NFL game. A lot of these guys are rookies, haven't been in the league very long, or some of these guys are guys that have bounced around the league. and you want to see them, but you got to get these guys all to play together. Nate said the pace of their offense was something. It was. And speaking of pace, I thought that was the only time we actually looked kind of energetic. Towards the end of the first half, we actually started going no huddle. You saw Hartman on the drive that I believe they scored. They got a field goal on early on, where they started going no huddle and coming straight to the line, and he was able to complete the passes. They were able to gas him with the runs. And then when Josh Johnson came in, he definitely had the ball moving. So I totally agree. Their pace, yeah, was good, but our pace at times it worked when we did it. You know what I mean? Nate said we didn't make an adjustment and give to it or give them confidence. I honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you. I think a lot of it was we were playing catch up the whole way through, and I'll even take it a step further and say it might not even they were playing catch up. This today looked like they just got up and punched us in the mouth. I mean, this looked like one of those situations where one team came ready to play. They're honoring the GOAT, the legend Tom Brady, and another team came out here and said, we were in the NFC Championship last year. We were, this great team. But you can't you come into a fight without your main guy, and you knew these guys were out. You need to show up, and unfortunately they didn't. Listen, we could easily try to pick out certain players to see what was going on, but it was the collective, it was a team effort that struggled. 13 penalties for almost 100 yards ain't cutting it. Ain't cutting it. Over 100 and some odd yards on kick returns, including a kick return touchdown, and then our former running back Antonio Gibson busting a 62-yard return ain't cutting it. I'm sorry. You guys have got to get better on that, and that's something I think they're going to really watch and really pay attention to. I did want to check out the rookies because I was focused on. I was definitely watching them. Shout out to my guy Will Kramer. We had our eyes on a couple of these guys, really trying to see, if they're able to take their opportunity tonight, especially with the starters not in there, and really shine. Krosky Merritt, Bill, Krosky Merritt at seven carries, 24 yards, had some action early on, and it actually got in a reception. Ja'Cory Brooks was actually our leading receiver with 5 receptions and 59 yards on all 5 targets. Well, on the flip side, Jalen Lane only had a target, didn't really do anything, returned a couple punts, never could break it for anything or even really get going. So we're gonna have to wait and see what we get from him. On defense, you had Amos who was playing in there with, he. A lot of people have said he looks really good, and he did an interview with Mikey Samerstill, and he was saying a lot of the things that he did last year, Samerstill, where he would go to the veterans and really like pick their brain. Amos was doing to him and some of those guys. So you like to see that iron sharpening iron, trying to work with younger guys and bring them up, and they're hungry. So that was always good. He had 2 tackles. Kane Madrano, the linebacker from UCLA, he also had 2 tackles. That was, or he had 3 tackles. Just getting these guys in the mix. Nothing that leaps off the page, but definitely something that, hey, these are rookies. You want to see what they have. Unfortunately, kind of go back to some of the rookies that were with the team a year ago, and we can't say the same. Looking it up now, one of the guys I was really focused on this year was Cole Turner. No, I think he had 1 potential reception, but then they said it was dropped. They took it away. Who else do we have in here? I know McCaffrey had a reception that's gone for negative yards. He wasn't able to get anything really going. Sennett had 2 receptions for 10 yards, and then for Sennett, that it's more than what he's done recently, so I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? And the other guy that I was looking at was Sam Hartman. Fortunately, he went 9 of 19, 64 yards, had an interception until, or with the exception of that one drive where coming right before halftime where they actually did score some points where they were going no huddle, they were going up tempo. Everything else looked rough. It looked rough. I'm not going to give him. I'll give him a pass on that interception because the guy, should have been tipped. It was tipped. It was what it was. But you know, it just looked rough. It looked rough for Hartman, and they're fighting for the number 3 spot. Him and Josh Johnson. But if you're going to compare them just from today, Josh Johnson looks a lot better. But Josh Johnson is a veteran, a wily old vet. How many different teams has he been on and everything like that. So I don't take anything from what I saw today and move forward. I just think this is definitely teaching tape, definitely something where you go back to the drawing board and you see, okay, what worked, what didn't work, where do we go from here? And this isn't anything to panic about or anything like that. One of the highlights that I have to say, no injuries. No injuries. We came out of that with no injuries, so that is beautiful. And with us having 30 guys that didn't play, we lost by 30 points. 1 point for each of the guys that didn't play. Let's get it. Try to be as positive as you possibly can. But I'm going to be honest, and I was telling some people this before. We came when you come out the gates. And I'm actually watching the replay now. When you come out the gates, and Travion Henderson, and shout out to him out of Ohio State, he's got wheels, and he showed us right away, taking the kick 100 yards back. When that happens to you in any game, preseason, regular season, playoff, Super Bowl, whatever, it most times that's one of those things that's such a that'll leave a team shell shocked that a lot of teams can't come back from till the second half or something like that, because it's one of those things that really takes the top off defense. And when they had such success on special teams, it really set us back. On top of that, obviously the penalties and things like that. Some of the stats actually don't look that far off, but the difference is they scored. They were able to get into the end zone. They were efficient in the red zone and did what was necessary as opposed to us, where we weren't able to get that. We weren't able to get it done. We weren't able to get the ball down the field and things of that nature. It was rough to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. Shout out to Josh Johnson, 15 to 22, 173 yards and a touchdown. Jeremy McNichols came in the game later on, 3 carries, 18 yards, and a reception for 14. It was, but these guys are veterans. They've been here. So, and they're not going up against ones or twos. You know what I mean? So, another guy, the rookie Connerly, I saw him in there. I have to go back and look at the tape to see exactly how he did. But I definitely saw him in there. Yeah, 13 penalties in preseason. I seen that maybe from the Raiders, but when you look at who was playing this, it's not you want. It's surprising because it's a Dan Quinn coach team. And Dan Quinn coach teams are normally more disciplined than that. So it is definitely something that's surprising from that standpoint. But I don't think that this is kind of to be expected. If you would have told me they lost, they're not putting in 30 players, and they're really doing the middle of the second team and the third team and guys that are half the guys that probably won't be on the roster, then I would say, okay, this could be a bumpy ride, and that's exactly what it was. Josh Johnson is a vet, but I think Hartman is a better option in my opinion. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, it remains to be seen. The one thing I will say is Hartman, while I like him better, and hopefully he can do better, he looked lost out there today. He looked lost, and at the end of the day, if I need to bring somebody in a game, Josh Johnson, I mean, he played an NFC Championship. Now, mind you, it was because Brock Purdy got hurt and he ended up getting in there. But at the same time, he has the experience. He's been around the league. He's been in these situations. Hartman, he needs to get that experience. And we, unfortunately, we have not been able to see him. And hopefully we won't be able to see him because of the fact that, no injuries from the guys above him. But, Hartman has not done anything to prove that he needs to be moved up to even a number 2 spot, much less, battling for the 3. So, yeah, shout out to Nathan Snell, my guy on Big Nate Sports Talk. Said, what are your thoughts on Matt Gay? I mean, I mean, what? I mean, you can't. I mean, he got the kick. Like he got some. Like I don't know that I could really. Let me go back and look at some stats. I don't know if I can really evaluate after just one game. Missed the one field goal, got the other, um, and got the extra point from where we were a year ago with kickers and things of that nature. I mean, hey, this could be interesting. It's something definitely to potentially look at as we go. But you got to remember, last year at this point we had what McManus, and then once everything happened came out about him, then you know, we had a bunch of kickers. We had a guy that ended up starting for us in game one. He missed a couple kicks and he was out, and then we ended up bringing in another couple guys. So, and we ended up with 6 total kickers this last year. So I'm not super concerned because I know how the coaching staff will continue to move on, but it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. That's not something I want to think about, but when you get beat 48-18, the field goal kicker is the least of my concerns at the moment. Oh man. Yeah, so again, I cannot harp on enough. It is just the first preseason game. Cannot harp on enough. 30 players did not play in this game. We wanted to see what these other guys were going to come to the table with, and they left a lot to be desired. They truly did. I mean, what is the Kevin Hart thing? She wasn't ready. That's what they weren't ready. Like early on you want to say stop the fight because it just looked like that type of thing. I'm sorry to say that, but maybe it needs to be said. And again, next week the starters will play some. So we'll see how different this team looks. But again, I think B. Mitch made a great point in the broadcast where he was basically saying, you know, sometimes you need some of these things to happen so you can go look at the tape, and it's that swift kick in the butt, like, hey, wake up. It's the NFL. It stands for not for long. You know what I mean? And I'm paraphrasing. I'm adding my little piece to it, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And yeah, 10 days until the Bengals game. It's definitely an adjustment period. And look, I guarantee they're gonna be going back to the film room and looking at this stuff, studying this stuff, talking. One of the things I like is that the veterans, albeit not playing, were still there, still talking to the guys that they came off the field. It's something that I think is going to be huge come this fall. And I look forward to seeing kind of how they play off each other. And look, these guys that they played today, like I said, half of them are not going to be not going to be playing, whether on the team or not, come the fall. But getting these type of opportunities in these type of situations, that is going to give you what you need when you do have to come in, barring an injury or whatever, and you have to step up and be that guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they can improve from this. I mean, you have to improve from this. I mean, this is not a good look. I already had people saying, "Dag, 48 points. You let them put 48 on you." Yeah, it's embarrassing. Point blank. And part of me is like, I'm pissed. I'm royally pissed. I believe they will, and I believe they will as well. But it's definitely not a good look early on. It's definitely not a good look early on. So as we go forward, I mean, honestly, like I said, we can always harp on the fact that there's no injuries. We can harp on the fact that yes, this is a lot of teaching tape. We starting down at the bottom. Let's raise up and let's see where we can go from here. And I'm quite honest with you. I'm ready to put this one in the rear view and let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. So look, yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't define a preseason game doesn't define the outlook of the rest of the season. In fact, when the last time, mind you, this was years and years, decades even ago. Actually, we're talking about not even this century. The last time Washington went to the Super Bowl, we lost every single preseason game, and I'll never forget. I was really upset about that. And one of the things my pops told me is this is not indicative of the regular season. They're taking guys out. They're giving the guys opportunities. This is not what you're going to see in the regular season. We ended up going 14-2, and going on and win the Super Bowl. Now, mind you, that was 1991. A lot of things were different back then, but at the same time, to Nate's point, preseason games are not indicative of the regular season, and especially the very first preseason game when you only have three. So they have to see what they have on the field, and hopefully this help move the needle into the direction they need to go. That's where we're at, man. So look, this has been Commanders post game show. It's your boy Sean Spencer. Before we leave, um, I did want to send prayers out to the Detroit Lions. I think defensive player Maurice Norris ended up trying to make a tackle and ended up colliding with, I believe, the running back, and then dropped to the ground. And they said he was like seizing up. I haven't seen the clip yet, but I've been talking to a bunch of people about it. And they ended up having to bring out the ambulance, and there's no official reports right now. So they said he's awake. He said he's can move around. There's movement and things of that nature. So thank God for that, and praying for his health and his well being. At the end of the day, we had that scare with Hamlin. We had the scares with Tua, and it's getting to the point where while I love this game without a shadow of a doubt, you gotta think of life after football, and you don't want to continue to obviously this could happen anywhere. I was talking to a buddy today that was saying, you can get injured getting out the shower. You know what I mean? And you can get injured in any way, shape, or form. But when you have something like this where it's that scary, where they're bringing the ambulance on and he's having to be like tied down and making sure that he's okay. It's one of those situations where you really puts things in perspective. And I've been on record saying I still don't think Tua should be going back out there. I mean, I can't. I don't know for sure, but in my opinion, I guarantee he's probably has enough money, or at least he has. I just don't. I just don't think it's good for him to go back out there. But of course, he did. He got a new helmet and all that stuff. But when you see him on the ground and his fingers seizing up, and then shout out to Damar Hamlin, who's another one who came back, played, had some things, and I mean that's beautiful. That's great. I love that for the game, but at the same time, it's like at what cost? But look, that's another story, and for another time, another day. We do want to send our prayers to Maurice Norris. And the Detroit Lions, man, because they've been dealing with injuries left and right. I think there's another. I think that one of their rookies maybe is already out for the season. So definitely prayers to him and to any of these guys getting hurt. I know I was watching the Ravens game yesterday, and there was a six rounder. That guy in the secondary, the corner, that was going up, made a great play on the ball, came down, and his knee was going a different direction. It was oof. I was like, oh, that does not look good. That does not look good. So we're gonna definitely see. Nate said, I saw that. That was scary to watch. Coach Cable did say post game Norris is breathing and talking. There's some movement. Thank God. Thank God. So yeah, we need that. Definitely want to make sure um, everything is good with him. And I mean, hey, that's one of the risks of playing the game that we love, and you know those are things that happen. I hate to say that as somebody who who suffered more concussions than I like to admit to, or maybe that I can remember. And that's before CTE and all these concussion protocols, were really big stuff. I mean, I played in the era where it's rub some dirt on it, smelling salts type thing. How many fingers am I holding up? That type thing. So, nowadays they really focus in on it, but back then it wasn't a thing. So you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your well-being, because you have to realize that there's life outside of this game. So again, praying for him, praying for his family, and anybody that got hurt early on. We know a bunch of people have. So hey, There it is. There it is. Look, this has been Commanders post game show, and I know we've talked about a couple other things, but I didn't want to get in that message to Maurice Norris. That let him know we're praying for him, and that everybody's rooting for him to get well. Glad to see he's breathing and there's a little bit of movement. And just everybody. I mean, we know we're going through these days, so praying for all of y'all. But also, hey, praying for this daggone team because we need it after that debacle. And I don't come for me. It's just preseason. I know, but still, I don't want to see that. Come on. I could have been doing some other things. I could have been asleep daggone it. I don't want to see that. So this is where we're at, man. And look, we can only go up from here. I won't lie. Like I started the halftime show, it just makes you say,
Really? What? What?
absolute craziness. But look, you know who it is. It is your boy, Sean Spencer. Stay tuned for my guy, Big Nate Sports Talk. Nathan Snell will be coming to you, I believe, either today or in the next couple days, talking about the Ravens, talking about some WNBA stuff. He's got some new stuff over there. I think you need to check him out. I'm excited to see what he's got. I know his IT team has been really hooking him up, so I'm really excited to see kind of what he's bringing to the table. Also, tomorrow morning, I believe at 11 a.m. Eastern, myself and Tina Winter will be joining forces to go on Let's Talk Football Breaking News, talking about some of these preseason games, talking about some new rules that are being implemented in the season, and how our teams look, going forward. Which you've heard how I feel about my team, so it might be a bunch of the same. But tune into that, and then Washington Football Weekly's back next Wednesday. We're about to get back in the thick of it, and college football update will be next Tuesday. College football season is a couple weeks away, so stay tuned. A lot of stuff coming out, and I cannot wait to get my guy Nathan Snell on here to join me to do one of these shows, talk Washington, talk Baltimore. And just get it going, and like my guy says, it's not rabbit season, it's not duck season, it's open season for all y'all. Let's go. Peace, people.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.